I can't really do an Anthony impression. I did really try.
Let's go.
You have activated the podcast from the Psycom Network.
And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the Retrograde podcast, the show that we normally get Anthony to come up and show intros, but he's not here today, so we haven't got one. My name's Jack Marshall. I'm joined today by Lizanne Fisher.
Hello.
James McFadden.
Hi.
And Mark Toole.
Hello.
In today's show, we'll be discussing the PC title System Shock 2, but before we do, let's have a brief blurb on the game from our own psychological monkey, Inspector Chief and Editor of Psycom.org, Brecky K. Thomason.
System Shock 2 is an action role-playing survival horror video game for the PC. The title was designed by Ken Levine and co-developed by Irrational Games and Looking Glass Studios. Originally intended to be a standalone title, its story was changed during production into a sequel to the 1994 PC game System Shock. System Shock 2 was released on August 11th, 1999 in North America. The game takes place on board a starship in a cyberpunk depiction of 2114. The player assumes the role of a lone soldier trying to stem the outbreak of a genetic infection that has devastated the ship. System Shock 2 has received positive reviews when released, but failed to meet commercial sales expectations. Many critics later determined that the game was highly influential in subsequent game design, particularly on first-person shooters, and considered it far ahead of its time.
Thanks for that, Brecky. Woo! We're back.
Woo!
It's been a break. It's been
Happy
a long
New
break.
Year,
Happy
guys.
New Year's.
Oh, sorry.
And we've got we need to dive straight first in the first thing that Anthony can't join us today because he is
In Cornwall.
okay.
I thought you had violent diarrhea.
I thought you had violent diarrhea as well. I'm pretty sure both ends.
Wait, what?
Diarrhea from both ends.
But in his place, we've got, if anyone listens to the Christmas special, we've got Mark Toole joining us again.
Hello.
And Mark, you're going to have to go through a little thing because every time we've had a guest on the show, it's only been once. But can you give us a quick rundown of your experience of gaming? How did you get involved in gaming, Mark?
Okay. Well, I'm Mark. I'm a 26-year-old Caucasian male.
Wait, is this
Not a
your
dating
I was going to
website.
say, is
Oh,
this your
sorry.
dating profile?
Is this not what happens? Okay.
Walks.
I started playing games when I was about 5. I got a NES.
What was your first game?
My first ever game was Super Mario Brothers.
Nice.
His girlfriend bought him one for Christmas. I've never even heard of. What was that game?
MiG-29. It's Codemasters. It's really good.
And the cart was shaped like the wing of a plane.
Yeah,
Is that right?
it's unlicensed. It's black and it looks like the exhaust of the
I've
plane.
never seen it. I was really impressed.
Is that for the NES?
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah, it's badass. I feel
You're
like
already
a pilot.
called an Anthony.
Yeah.
It doesn't say much. Carry on.
Oh.
Go on, Mark. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Mean. So yeah, I had NES and then worked through loads and loads of different systems. Had a Nintendo 64, best console ever, GameCube, and Xbox 360, and I also make games. Well, I say games. They're more like
Game.
a game. No, what have I made? Zumba, that's a good one. Disney karaoke games, they're really good as well.
Crushed.
Immense.
We said Crushed.
Yeah.
Working
Crushed,
on.
that's really
you obviously can't say much, but working on next gen title.
I'm
at the moment.
working on
As in next gen title.
Oh yeah, for
Can't say- no, you can't say
unannounced
that.
consoles. Yeah.
Non-disclosure agreements and all that. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, was there anything else you wanted? What did you say was the best console ever?
Nintendo 64.
How high pitched did your voice just go?
The Nintendo 64.
Wait,
Nintendo 64.
The Nintendo 64 is the best console you've ever owned. Really,
The best console I've ever owned. Yes. Well, unless you say Xbox 360, I mean, it's either of those two.
until the Ouya turns up, and then we're both going to be. We've got
Wait,
two.
did you ever have a SNES?
I never owned a SNES.
Oh right, so
I've
you're not
played-
including that in the running man when you
No,
say.
no.
So that's why you mistakenly.
Oh,
said-
actually,
So the
I-
N64 is the best console you've ever owned. Would that be a fairer statement?
Why not? Yes.
Mark's never been loyal to a brand. Well, people normally stick to Nintendo or Sega when they were growing up.
Oh yeah, I had
But
everything.
you went all over.
I went.
the show.
Yeah, I went NES and then Mega
Tar.
Drive. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's your parents loved you.
Flag.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us, Mark. I'm looking forward to your
Right.
unique input onto the game today.
I'm looking forward to you slagging Jack off quite a lot.
Oh, I am looking forward to that as well.
He did say to me, was it you saying to me when you heard the show, you love how everyone slags me off on things.
Yeah,
I
that's
say.
my favourite part.
That's the favourite part of the
Yeah.
show. Brilliant.
And I get to call you out on all your
but
rubbish facts.
We've got loads of stuff because to talk about quickly because it was James' birthday yesterday as well.
Yay!
And I want to know how your music recital went. In all seriousness, because
yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Chopin.
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 It's spelt chopping. I went for the best pronunciation I could.
Pronunciation
Whatever.
every time.
Same thing.
What Chopin have you been listening to, Jack?
The top 5 on Spotify.
Top 5 on
His
Spotify.
greatest hits, basically.
Oh yeah, well I think the
Did
top
he do one called Air? No, that was
No,
Bach.
he wouldn't have done an error.
Okay.
Probably number 1 on Spotify is going to be the Nocturne that I played,
Yeah.
and it went well. It was
I want to
good.
say 20. No,
What?
like
no,
something
it's
20, but I
Opus
don't know.
9 number 2 is that one, but I'm 20. I don't know.
I don't know. It's Spotify. It could be anything.
Spotify,
So,
yeah.
Good though. Went well. You got
yeah,
the
it was
fingers
good.
working.
Yeah, I don't think it was too bad. I haven't got my results back yet. But,
okay.
It went down not too badly.
How was your birthday?
It was well. It was spent in the company of my lovely girlfriend, who's now an invalid, and as such,
Was that your
cannot
fault?
Because of your birthday,
cannot
yeah.
be trusted to exist without me escorting her to the shops, up and down the stairs, and from room to room. So my birthday was fun because
She tore a ligament for people wondering what the hell happened to her.
Effectively, Charlotte, if you're listening, you're a burden.
She doesn't listen, does she? She doesn't listen.
No, I love you, by the way, but God, you are a burden.
I don't think they've got that in cards yet, in like birthday cards. I love you, but you're a burden as
I'll
well.
cross out some words.
Well, happy birthday and
Happy birthday, James.
and good luck to Charlotte as well. Video of on there. Oh,
What? Wait,
oh,
what?
that's harsh. Really
That was
harsh.
half a sentence.
I think
It was
someone
a bunch
turned
of
over 2
noises.
pages at once, sir, I think.
And Lazanne, go on.
I have 2 bits of banter. No, he said that.
Get on with it.
James, he says it like that because when he turned up, I told him and Mark, like, I was really, really excited because I
Alright,
just
okay.
read on the internet the amazing thing that Nintendo said today.
What did they say?
And Jack isn't excited by this at all.
Satoru
Mark's
Iwata.
intrigued.
Yeah.
I am super excited. They've finally done it, James. Pokemon in 3D in October.
Oh, really?
They
Oh,
finally
yeah.
lowered the camera slightly a bit more so you can see more of the landscape.
Wait, what?
It's gonna be incredible.
Shut up, Jack.
It's not yet fully.
Shut up.
They've not said it's a full 3D
Stop
world
it.
yet. It's
They
still
have.
fixed-
I thought
it's
it
still a
was.
They
fixed
have
camera
said.
perspective, apparently.
No, they have said it's fully
The
3D.
Pokemon rendered in 3D, I know that.
Oh yeah, they're all cell shaded. That's in 3D, but the actual moving around apparently will still be fixed from fixed cameras.
Oh, really?
Apparently, that's what I heard.
But it's going to be in
That's what I
3D.
heard.
That's all I care about. Super Mario Land was a fixed camera, but that was in superb 3D. Professor Layton, fixed camera, but again, superb 3D. I got Professor Layton 3D, by the way, for Christmas. It was immense.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I never played any of those games. Would you recommend?
Yes, highly. They're incredible.
Cool.
It was the 5th one that was released last October, and yeah, it was amazing.
They're calling it Pokemon X and Y, and then the next one that comes out is combined them is going to be Z because those are obviously
Zed.
the 3 dimensions.
Yeah, see what
But
we
yeah.
did there,
And you've got something else. You've also got an injury.
Yeah, I've developed tennis elbow.
Tennis. Oh man. I
Yeah.
thought that was just like a shirt. Under
No,
It's
it's
a really fashionable shirt. that
it's a
one.
tubey grip. Yes, last December I started developing a bit of a hurty elbow, and eventually went to the doctors just after New Year,
Boo-boo.
and said, yeah, my elbow's been hurting for the past 5 weeks. I don't know what's up with it. And he looked at it, just thinks, he was like, yeah, that's tennis elbow. And he's like, what have you been up to? And I
have you
said,
been
and
up
I
to?
said, well,
Yeah.
I said, well, you know what? I don't play tennis, so what kind of movements do it? And he started gesturing, painting walls, and going and apparently that can cause it. And I was like, okay, well, I haven't been painting, so and he said, all right, what other gestures have you been doing with just that arm then?
Good lord.
And,
Did you not by this point start? This sounds like a comedy sketch.
it was a bit carry on, yeah.
Doctor. Or something.
And then I said, well, I have been playing a lot of Nintendo Wii, and he said, well, what gestures have you been doing on that? And I've been playing Skyward Sword for months, and so, you know, I showed him with the remote and the sword hilt, and he was like, yep, that'll do it. And I said, really? And he was like, yep. And I said,
Was he well disappointed? Was he like, no?
no. He then said, have you completed it? I said, yeah, it was amazing. He said, good, better be worth it. This is an injury that's going to be with you for the rest of your life.
Did he say that? Bloody hell.
And I was just like, oh God, really? And he was like, yeah, right, here's some really strong ibuprofen. If that doesn't work in 2 weeks, we're going to have to talk steroid injections directly into your bones. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, they're really painful, and if they don't work, then we're going to have to operate. And I was like, just
Bloody
from
hell.
playing a game? And he was like,
God.
yes.
This went dark.
Yeah, I know.
I thought this was going to be a light-hearted anecdote about.
No.
Imagine-
My elbow is
I'm
now
sorry.
screwed up for the rest of my life. So I'm thinking of suing Nintendo. And then I'll get real Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because they exist.
I
That's where they
know.
get them from.
They won't be able to make X and Y. Satoru Iwata will come out and go, we're very sorry. We can't make the game anymore.
Oh, come on, Zan.
That's and sawdust.
Yeah. So yeah, that's those are my 2 bits of banter I had for today. Pokemon 3D and video games have crippled me.
Mark, you got anything in the gaming world you want to share? Anything exciting?
What have I done recently? Oh, I got my Wii U. Been
Yeah.
playing my Wii U. Played loads. Well, I played everything that's worth playing. So I've got Zombie U, which is all right. It's okay.
You played it to death.
I did. I completed
You
it. I
yeah.
completed it. I completed it. I got the best ending as well. I just want to say that officially. But I
No,
got
you
the
didn't.
best
I watched
ending.
you. You
no,
didn't.
no,
You died on
you
that
didn't
bit.
see me do it. You didn't see me do it.
Oh.
But I got the best ending. It's all right, but it's so repetitive. It's one of those games. It's like you just do the same thing over and over.
There's only one melee weapon of a cricket bat
Yeah.
through the whole,
Oh, really?
and you use it for about 90% of the time,
Yeah, essentially.
like cricket bat.
Yeah, I don't know what it couldn't hurt him just to make another model.
Yeah,
Um,
and every time the guy will go, or the woman, he'll go "Ah!" really loud every time you hit him. So he it just if someone's in the other room,
Yeah,
it's
my
just
girlfriend was very
constant
worried.
screaming.
Did she think you were beating Jack?
I think she hoped I was beating Jack.
Yeah, she'd have loved it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I've got no banter. I was going to quickly ask if you got your golden SNES controller after your
Not on
victory.
me. I've still got it.
Yeah.
I don't carry it.
Was
with
Charlotte
me.
impressed?
She was actually
Yeah.
impressed. She was impressed. She's like, plug in. I was like, we don't have a SNES.
Are you
What
displaying it anyway?
No, it's in a cupboard.
I was hoping it to be around your chain, like a
Yeah.
bling.
Oh, I would do that, but I would not.
Yeah, because you could use the cord to tie it.
Exactly.
Mark used to have
As
a
a
NES
necklace?
controller.
I did
Yeah,
have a
really.
NES
Used to
controller
wear it
on a
out
chain.
proudly.
That's like Flavor Flav.
I remember
man.
going
It's
into
wicked.
game with you.
Oh,
and
Mark!
whenever we went into a video game shop, he would zip his coat up and he goes, "Oh, let me see it."
Yeah, that's one place I wouldn't want anyone to see me with it on.
Because in other shops, in like H&M, it was fashionable, but when you went into like a video game shop, I better put this away.
man,
People know what it is.
Can't
People
let
know
a
what
geek
it
see
is
me
in
with it,
here.
man.
That's hilarious.
When was this?
Last week?
No, it was like a year ago. I've still got that, you know. It's about a year, a couple of years
Like a
ago.
couple of years ago. I thought this was like in your teenage years.
No, I've had a very prolonged awkward
Mark
teenage
went
phase.
through. Mark went through a
I think
retro
we all
phase.
have, Mark.
At least it wasn't like a NES game. I've seen big NES games around people's necks.
I have
Did you have a
considered it.
NES
I've considered it.
controller?
I do have a broken version of Super Mario Bros. 3 that I'm waiting to use for something like that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it
You
yet.
should turn it into a hat.
A hat,
Yeah. Mount it on a trilby or something.
just on the front.
Yeah.
Like a cap.
That would
That
look
could
pretty
work.
fly.
That would be pretty
For a
fun.
white guy.
For any colour guy, Jack. Don't be.
Yeah, don't be so racist.
Okay, let's talk about System Shock 2. James, you chose this game. Go
Yes, I
ahead.
did.
Why did you chose it, and what did you think of it?
I chose it because obviously I'm interested. I really like. I think BioShock is probably my favorite first-person shooter, and obviously because they're releasing a new one this year, allegedly. Oh man, it's 2013.
March
That's weird.
March 26th.
Yeah. I thought it'd be good to revisit their past and just see how it compares and sort of how it influenced not only that game.
So you
but
never
other ones.
played System Shock 2?
No,
before
not
this?
really. No.
Okay. What do you think?
I mean, it's obviously aged. It's aged. It's not an elegant experience, but the main thing that struck me actually was how similar it is to BioShock in so many ways. I mean, it feels BioShock to me feels almost like a reskinned, updated version
No,
of
I agree
System
with
Shock
that.
in many ways. I wouldn't even say it's as much of a sort of a sequel as it is just a remake with a different theme. I found it to be. It was fun. I mean, I liked it playing it for the first time, but I wouldn't imagine that lots of people could revisit it now, having not played it before, and enjoy it.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. So were you overall disappointed?
Not disappointed. I for me, I was expecting something quite intelligently made and something that reflected well on BioShock and sort of had quite obvious influences on other games, and I got that. But I mean, in terms of just having fun and playing a game, I'm not sure it was amazing. The atmosphere was killer. I mean, that was beautiful what they did there. I mean, it was rudimentary because everything's obviously so old now, but I felt quite oppressed. It's still quite sort of sci-fi, scary.
It was a very
ominous.
claustrophobic game,
yeah.
which I'm sure they did on purpose. I was saying to Mark the opening where there's like a street that you run down,
Yeah.
and it's literally meant to be a street, and I couldn't tell it was a street because it was just so dead and desolate. I was like,
If you look up, it's like the
yeah, and you look in a bar window, and there's just like a robot behind a bar that slowly moves a bit, and I was like, it's a bit lonely. This game, I don't think you even see like anyone really.
I know you do. You occasionally see people. They did that on purpose though to make
They
you feel
run behind a
lonesome.
glass or something.
Like
yeah.
usually when you get to the end of a section, you'll see one person or someone like that, and there's the person who leads you through it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You get to see her eventually.
Go on, Mark. What did you think?
Well,
You've never played it as well.
I haven't played this one. I played the original when it came out. I think by the time this came out, it was like I was into
System Shock
like,
1 was
Unreal.
about 94, and System Shock
Yeah.
2 was 99.
I think it was 99, yeah. So I was on to other things when this came out. And I was really excited to play it. I was like, System Shock 2, like, masterpiece, apparently. Granddaddy of, like, so many different game mechanics. It's gonna be proper dench. That's basically what I thought.
Dench?
Don't yet.
You know,
No, I want to know. As in
nod
Judy?
along.
It's in Dame Judy.
a bit, yeah. It's like sick or tick or...
Oh, okay.
So it's
Gully.
pretty gully.
Can we define dench here before we move on?
Dench is like if something's good.
Is it like hench but the next level up?
Like hench
Couple
is
of
when
levels
hench
down in
is,
the alphabet,
It's
isn't
like gully, but a bit more brown.
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
It's like gully.
Alright, okay, we're just gonna move on now because
Alright.
this is.
And he's the youngest one in the group as well. That's the thing. He's not heard these words. We think this is common saying, but he's like, no one says that. We say splendid.
Spiffing.
So go on, Mark.
But yeah, so I had these really high expectations, and it started off really well. I really like the opening. The opening's fantastic. It's got a proper hazard course tutorial, which I absolutely love. You don't see those anymore.
Yeah.
And I really liked how you were always in the game. So when you chose a profession, normally in these kind of things it would be like, do you want to be a warrior, a magician, or a thief, essentially, and that would just be like a menu choice. But here you actually you had to go through doors, and it kind of really inserted you into the universe, which I really liked. But then after the beginning and the actual game started, it kind of all fell apart for me. The combat is the clunkiest thing I would not quite ever seen, but it's abhorrent to use. It's so difficult.
Definitely really have to adjust to it.
Yeah, timing.
That was the thing. I had to really go like, what the hell? Because I remember I spoke to Ansi about it on the show, and he was saying, we both found that you click to hit, and it will like click, swipe, click, swipe, and it's like the delay of actually swinging the crowbar was like, oh come on, this is ridiculous.
That melee combat is it's super hard, and just generally interacting with the world is a pain. Nothing's straightforward. You have to put so much effort into doing a simple thing like not just picking stuff up, but using things, having to go into your inventory, moving things around, trying to find what does what as well is so hard. Because you know how most things, if you've got like a health pack, normally has a red cross on it or something like that, but in this it's just different coloured syringes. And I know for a fact, Jack, you didn't discover the health syringe.
We'll get to what I think of the game.
But yeah, so it took me ages to get used to all the clunkiness. But once I got past that, I actually began to love it again. And I can see why it's held with such high regard. But I think it does take a lot of effort to get through that.
Okay, that's fair enough.
How long did you guys spend playing it?
In total, I'll explain why in a bit. I only spent about 4 hours.
Okay, James.
In honesty.
I don't know really. I couldn't tell you. I played it in like sort of a few hour bursts over.
Your save file told you how long you'd been playing.
Yeah.
Your save file tells you how long you've been playing.
Mine didn't. It was corrupted. My game was really screwed. I had lots of the train for me flickered on and off and stuff.
Right.
It was,
We'll talk about it in a bit about actually getting the game running.
yeah, that was
a bit of a bitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know. A while. I didn't actually complete it on this playthrough. I completed like part of it and then watched a Let's Play for the rest of it. I don't know if you guys are
Fair enough.
There are Let's Plays for it.
How long did you spend?
I spent about, 7 hours.
You spent more than me.
I think I was about just over halfway through when I stopped.
Yeah. Okay, Lizanne, what did you
I played it
think
for an hour.
Oh, that's longer than I
Well
thought
done,
you were going to play it.
That was what did you think of it?
Okay. You know I hate these kind of games.
I took the guess to Mark. I said when I started playing it, I was about an hour in because me and Mark live together. That's why we don't just hang around all the time. And I said to him, Lizanne is gonna, I think, hate this game. So go on. Sorry.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I don't like this kind of game. The training rooms were hard enough for me because I wasn't used to those kinds of controls, and it took me absolutely flipping ages to work out how to equip the psi amp thingy that I had to equip it as a weapon. That wasn't explained at any point, and I was getting really annoyed. But I thought the psi stuff was really cool. But then once you've done all the training stuff, it then took all that stuff back off you, which was really annoying because I was like, brilliant, done the training, got a gun, done the training, got the amp thing, brilliant. And then you get into the game, and I found a wrench, thankfully. It was rubbish. It was awful. Like you get through into that first bit where you've got that tower on the ground floor, and it's got the power up thingies around it. you've only got 4 of those little thingies that you can use to boost your stats, and I didn't use that to hack, and so it meant that I couldn't really do anything.
I did exactly the same thing, yeah.
So it meant that I couldn't do anything, because I thought, it would be unlimited, or they would take those nanobyte thingies, of which I had tons. But no, and I'd spent it on something ridiculous, not realising that I didn't have that much. And then the hack thing itself, that was such a crap mechanic. I couldn't get those 3 things to light up.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It's complete luck, that.
It was completely
honest,
ridiculous.
Even in Bioshock, I found the hack just broke up the gameplay a bit too much. Like when was it the pipe system?
Yeah,
it was
thing?
the pipes, yeah.
And I remember eventually, because I think in Bioshock 2, it was like a colour game where you had to just hit the colours with a dial going across. It didn't. So like in the middle of Bioshock, you're running around getting shot by everyone, then suddenly you'll see a thing, you go, oh, I'll hack that. The game will pause while you play a little puzzle game.
But to be fair,
I find it always a bit of a weird one.
Is there any game that has a satisfying like hack mechanic in it at all ever?
I haven't played one with a hack mechanic before.
I always really liked lockpick in Fallout.
Yeah, the hacking in Fallout was quite fun, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
With
never
the
minded
terminals.
that. It just,
Is that the same as in the Elder Scrolls?
In there's one game where you see, I think
Yeah, that is the same as in the
There's
Elder
one in Splinter. Is it Splinter Cell where you see a side view of the lock and you have to actually lift up each node
The
as you're going
tumblers.
across?
That's Oblivion.
twisting. Is that Oblivion? Is that
No, Oblivion just shows you the
Fallout? You just dial when it rumbles.
you're right, there's
Yeah,
Sorry, my
Oblivion
bad,
is from
yeah.
the side, so you see the lockpick.
And you have to hit you have to hit 5
Nice hand
You have to
gestures.
hit 5 notches as it's going along.
Yeah, that's
Back.
Oblivion,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
that's one. I really enjoyed that, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with that. The hack mechanic, I agree. I don't think it was great. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and then then suddenly that ghost guy appeared and said, oh no, if only someone will open the door, blah blah blah, I lost my key card. And I was like, right, cool, I've got to find a key card. That's a clever little trick to do. And then found the key card, got through that door, and then suddenly I heard this zombie start going, we're coming. And the zombie voices I thought were really funny because they were really tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
And then killed that first zombie and then walked through into the next bit, and then suddenly this epic drum and bass music starts, and it just starts thumping and thumping and thumping, and I'm like, whoa, right,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
stuff's about to go down, but it didn't. I was just walking around trying to find more stuff, scavenging bodies, and then another zombie showed up, killed him, and then I turned off the game.
Fair enough.
But there was lots of things about it that I did appreciate. Like I did like the thumping soundtrack; that was really good.
Love that.
That was brilliant, and that really did get the adrenaline going. I did get really excited just because of the music.
Yeah.
That came in at that bit, but it was really confusing for me to start with, and it got more confusing, and then the zombies were rubbish, and hitting them with a wrench wasn't satisfying, and so turned it off.
Fair enough. I'd never played the game either. I was very excited because, like Mark's saying, it's always talked about as a very influential game, like especially amongst games designers. We'll always go, that game, that really inspired me. So I was really excited to play it. I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't think it was very good. I had to really sit down, stroke my beard, and think, why did I not enjoy this? And again, it just comes down to the way I play games. And I was explaining to Mark earlier, I don't.
Nothing.
He just whacks his head on the keyboard and hopes for the best.
No, the reason I don't like I love Half-Life. I'm a Half-Life lover. I like Quake. I like my fast first-person shooters, and this isn't a fast. This is a smart first-person shooter. This is a thinking man's first-person shooter, which I'm not a fan of.
I thought you were about to say I'm not a thinking man.
I'm not a thinking man. Certainly, I go in, I shoot, and I ask questions later. But but one of the things I was thinking about, what I didn't really like, which really started the game off badly for me, was the fact that I was talking to Mark about this earlier. I don't like in a game, and obviously this is very common with RPGs. I don't like when a game at the start says to you, right now, do you want to be a warrior or a mage or an astronaut or whatever? You'll get +4 if you're a whatever. I don't like doing that in games because I don't know yet what impact that's going to have in the game.
Definitely.
Now, some people love that because they'll think, I'll go back and start again, I'll be an elf this time. But I don't, because I obviously have this bad mentality of I'm just there to complete the game. Have a good time while I'm doing it, but I want to complete the game. So I did exactly what Zan did, and I stupidly didn't. I don't think the particular introduction was very good. Like when I was picking my years, I was stupid enough I didn't realise that each one was giving me different perks, so I just ran through the
It's
first
hidden,
one.
isn't it? I reckon that was properly rushed in at the last minute, especially the way on those parts you start about 5 foot in the air and just go.
Whenever you started, you just leaped forward for some reason. You're like, okay, I've just jumped back in again. And so I got into the game, and I went for the tutorial, and I tried to get hang of it, and I was like, I'm going to get this. And I quickly realised you can't just run in and you can't run around. And I think if I was to be 100% honest, if I was to now start it again properly from the start and really sit down and concentrate and focus on everything, I would start to appreciate it a lot more. But then I think that is more just because the game did have its flaws. Like BioShock, I had no problem getting into that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. So there was just something in the design of this game, especially in the start of setting you up for the game, that I just didn't, for some reason. It just seemed like there was just too much. To be honest, it felt like I learned too much in the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
No,
I'd
I
agree
agree.
with that, because you have all the training, you learn about all the cool stuff you can do in the game, then you don't have any of that, and then suddenly there's a ton of mechanics that you have to equip and learn about and use and get all the resources to make them all work and all this, and it's like, right, so you've told me all about them, but I'm not actually going to be able to use any of them for another 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty rubbish, and I'm going to have to work hard to get them. Whereas if you'd have had the basics from the very beginning and then leveled them up or collected more on the way, then that'd be good. But you started off with nothing, which was very disheartening for me.
Yeah, I really struggled with that, and it wasn't until I saw, until I started progressing and getting better at things, and I could see how things were developing, and then I could see, oh, okay, so that's how that works. And then I started to enjoy it a bit more because I could actually see how the game was supposed to work.
I think all of these sort of mechanical foibles are just a result of a development studio has a lot of really great ideas. Like they have a lot of mechanics they want to implement, but they don't have the sort of design knowledge and experience to implement them all like cohesively and seamlessly in a way that works. So,
I mean, the mechanics themselves were great ideas. Like the whole Psy thing, that was a brilliant idea. And if it was fully equipped and you had leveled it all up and stuff, then you could have an amazing time in that game. But the amount of effort, like you said, it's far too much.
I think
to make it worthwhile.
they were breaking a lot of new ground with the game. Loads and loads of kind of firsts came out of it. Like things like we're talking about the hacking. I can't think of a game before this that has a proper hacking mechanic, or like audio logs, and even that kind of disembodied voice that leads you through, saying, right, now you need to go here and get this.
Exactly.
That really
well.
reminded me of Portal and Glass.
I mean,
it's also really
similar
to Borderlands with the whole.
Yeah, exactly. That's everywhere now. It just didn't exist back then. So I think it kind of, it doesn't like let them off a bit. I don't want to say go easy on the devs because they were trying things for the first time, and they still did it really badly in a lot of cases, but it shows they were trying
really interesting because I was worried we were going to come in and really slag the game off, so I wanted to look up why it was seen so inspirational and stuff, and it makes sense to me. But it was funny reading how Gamer Sutra had 2 articles. One of them was just basically talking about the most groundbreaking first-person shooters, and they had System Shock 2, which developers themselves had voted for number 5 as the most groundbreaking first-person shooter.
What was number 1? Half-Life?
I think
surely.
it was Half-Life. No, I think it was Doom. Actually, I think it was Doom.
Oh,
but and they were all saying about how stuff like this, someone, Luca Francini, I can't remember what shooter from, but System Shock 1 was probably a big leap, but in System Shock 2, the elements were all more smoothly entwined. But then on the reflection of that, on the flip side, there's a post-mortem on Game Sutra by Jonathan Shea, who's a co-founder of Rational Games, and he basically just talks about how rushed the whole game was. He says, like, you definitely get the thing...
in development, in production.
Oh yeah, he's saying the whole thing you got all the way through the article that he's writing is that we were surprised this was actually very good. We said, like, there was a lot of stuff, and everything they talk about, for example, and we're going to probably talk about graphics, but like the animations were terrible in the game.
They were really
and he
bad.
explains that the motion capture studio they went with basically weren't really into motion capture. It was like a side project, and they cancelled the whole thing during the game's development.
I was going to say, those graphics were poor. If that was motion capture, they were ripped off.
So they had to basically deal with what they had and try to do the best they could with it. And they also had to use, because they were working, they had to basically take the Thief engine, which already was completely, it's called the Dark Shadow engine.
I think
the Dark engine.
Yeah, when they got it, it wasn't finished.
It wasn't finished, so they had to rush it to try accommodate it for System Shock 2. So again, that's why a lot of, to be honest, the graphics in the game compared to what was around at the time, which actually made a note.
Well, Half-Life came out, a year or two before this?
A year before.
A year before.
They were in development
the graphics weren't that much
when
better.
Half-Life came out. So they always say, I mean, everyone says System Shock 1 did it first anyway, but when Half-Life came out, they all kind of sat around and went, yeah, I'm glad we didn't go for the whole cinematic cutscenes because Half-Life would have beaten us. But I was just saying, like 97, Jedi Knight came out. So 2 years before, and that was a lot better graphics. We were saying the other day. Resident Evil 2 came out the year before, Banjo-Kazooie, Rainbow Six, Grim Fandango, Half-Life. Then 99, the same year, Quake 3 Arena came out. When you compare the graphics on that with this,
and the combat
it's
as well.
It's a huge difference. But
the whole, I mean, visually it is is quite excruciating to behold. But I think the whole because EA published this, right?
Yeah, it was EA. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, to me, that smacks of EA entirely, because the project was originally, correct me if I'm wrong, meant to be just a standalone like game. It wasn't meant to be a sequel.
Yeah.
And so EA come along and they're like, all right, well, we've got this IP that we want to extend. Let's make it whatever you're doing and put System Shock on the front of it.
To defend them, though, what they called, not Looking Glass, sorry, Irrational Games, they were struggling to find publisher funding for the game. So they were really like, we need something. So when EA came on and said System Shock 2, they were relieved. They were like, yes,
oh, really?
okay, we can make this into System Shock 2, because they've released something before that was something that hadn't gone well at all, like it was like a cricket game or something stupid. And they were like, yeah, we're really struggling. And they left Looking Glass to make Irrational, and then they got this license. They're really happy with it. But yeah, you're right though. EA kind of probably did come in and pull the strings a bit more. And they said in this article that they had project length was 18 months with only $1.7 million budget, which
That's nothing now.
Nothing now. Back then it might have been a little bit, but still not much then.
Isn't it?
And he said for the last year they were just crunching the whole project. They were just working themselves to death. But one thing I want to ask you though, because this is one thing they do all talk about is very influential, and they don't say anything about this article about music and sound effects. Good or bad? You always notice music a lot better.
Love that music.
I didn't like the music.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't. I like really melodic sort of.
But you said it was quite atmospheric, the game?
It was atmospheric, yeah. But I mean, for me personally, I want to be able to, and this is subjective, I'm not saying this makes a good game, but for me, I want music that I'm going to listen to outside of the game on its own as well. I want to hear a soundtrack, then remember it a few weeks later and look it up on YouTube or Spotify or whatever.
Do you do that with Mario?
The Super Mario Galaxy soundtrack,
of course, Galaxy,
Gusty Garden.
You can have a game that, like Resident Evil, I would never listen to that soundtrack outside the game.
It wasn't a soundtrack, it was just...
But I think it works great in the game.
It was, but I mean, subjectively, again, I didn't like Resident Evil soundtrack.
Okay, no, fair enough.
I think it suffers from... Well, I happen to think the music's awesome, but I think it suffers from a problem that a lot of games had at the time. If you look at games that came out around 98, 99, 2000, especially on PC, they all had a very techno-y drum and bass soundtrack.
Half-Life did.
Yeah, it was like Half-Life, Unreal Tournament as well.
Industrial.
That was kind of the big thing, and I think maybe they kind of jumped on a bandwagon a bit.
Totally, yeah.
But the ambient sounds, I think, were...
The sounds were great, yeah.
But apart from the mutants, they're not...
Well, the monkeys were just
really cheesy.
freaking... What the... Monkeys. These little monkeys that I couldn't hit. It was... but it's the funny thing. It was quite... So Mark was listening to me play it, because I don't speak so It was quite hilarious watching me play, because I was running in, setting alarms off, going into radioactive zone, zombies running up with you with shotguns, going, we're gonna get you, and all this. And I was just going mental. I was getting so angry with it. I was jumping around. I was like, what's going on? And it was like a little thing that drove me insane, that I went to a ledge and all I wanted to do was jump. And when you're for some reason facing a wall, you can't jump. You're supposed to jump and it will climb. So I was like, what's my character doing? He's just going, he's like humping this wall. So I was like, what's going on? And again, this game was not made for me. That's the thing I will say. I can understand completely why it's influential. And the thing is, I know it's funny you were saying earlier, you thought the HUD, when you press tab and things stuff, like that's often talked about as being revolutionary at the time. I thought it was quite comfortable to use, in all honesty.
Some of it good, but some of it's really bad. For example,
the side abilities were terrible.
Having to put, like, why... I don't understand why it had, like, a hand slot for your weapon when you could just scroll through weapons with the mouse wheel anyway. So I don't really understand why that was there. And all the stuff at the bottom of the screen. Like, you yourself, Jack, you were looking through your Psi upgrades, yeah? And you were like, oh, what's this do? I don't know. Getting really angry about it.
Yeah.
So I think it was just too cluttered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Too much stuff.
There was far too much.
Again, it feels to me like a result of people sort of trying to make Iron Age, Steel Age. Oh god, I don't know much about history. Let's say Steel Age technology with Bronze Age materials.
No,
yeah.
So they're trying to work beyond the constraints of the system that they've been given. So they have these ideas, but they can't really make them work together yet. So yeah, the UI was very cluttered and didn't make much sense. It was just, there was too much stuff there. It was overwhelming.
Yeah, great ideas, but yeah, just far too many of them that made executing them very, very difficult. Like, you had to remember all the different buttons that did all the different things, that called up the different bits of the menu, to remember what all the short acronyms stood for, and yeah, it's pretty annoying.
It's funny. I agree with what James you were saying earlier when you were saying about it seeming more like Bioshock seeming like a remake of this game, because when I got a couple of hours in, I realised I was like, this is pretty much exactly the same game. But if Bioshock was made like 10 years ago, this is exactly what it would be, and it is. I've just basically said something really obvious there. Brilliant.
Don't worry, I didn't actually make the connection. That I was like, oh, this is. I knew they'd made Bioshock. It was only then I realised, because it's called Shock at the end. System Shock, Bioshock. That took me a while to get. So
right down.
Oh, Jack.
Right down to the storyline. Even if you've played Bioshock, the storyline, including twists in the storyline, are almost exactly the same.
Are we allowed to? Because we asked listeners to play the game beforehand, so are we allowed to do spoilers?
Yeah.
Well, Shodan pretending to be the doctor lady is the same as Fontaine pretending to be
exactly
Agnes.
the same.
That's the same twist. It's bizarre that they reused it so faithfully, and so much about it is the same. Like even hacking the vending machines in Bioshock, you can pay them or like whatever. Do you pay them in Bioshock or do you hack them?
You can pay them.
You can pay for them.
And in System Shock, you do the same thing. It's just it feels really weird that they would so faithfully almost recreate every single
it's
aspect
shameless
of the
in a
game.
way.
Yeah, I know. At least it's their own material that they're plagiarizing, I guess.
Yeah, it's good as well because at least that way they've kind of taken something that not many people have seen and polishing it and then releasing it to the wider crowd now, which is good.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear some trivia on the game?
Always.
Yeah.
The basic storyline, the idea of the storyline, it was apparently based to the novella Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad.
Oh, I'm going to start reading this.
Which is about a guy travelling down the river and he has a comrade on his boat who he doesn't trust. And that's a terrible explanation, but it has very similar
also
plot
happens
lines.
to be a robot.
Yeah,
who tries to kill
something
everyone.
there was a lot of setbacks because the demonstration builder. There were setbacks that has to be localized because the demonstration builder E3 was hindered when it was requested all guns be removed from the presentation due to the then recent Columbine High School massacre. So they had to demo the game with no guns.
No.
I don't think that would hurt it too much though, considering the gunplay.
In Bioshock Infinite, they've added the mode called 1999 mode. Which makes the game a lot harder, and it's basically reference to System Shock 2's release date and the fact that the decisions will have a lot more permanent and profound impact on the gameplay in Bioshock Infinite, just like they did in System Shock 2. Hi, welcome back to the Retrograde podcast. If you're wondering why there was a bit of an awkward pause there, it's because I did a bit of a screw up and I broke the recording by letting my laptop battery die.
Don't try and blame us for your foolish behaviour.
We're all partly to blame. So this has actually been
what? No. You're completely to blame.
So we're recording this on the following day.
Stole your charger.
And that's why the podcast has been delayed a little bit this week. So we're kind of back again. It's been a couple of days. Did you guys have anything else you'd like to say about System Shock 2?
What were we talking about?
We were talking about the trivia part of the show, but it's a good thing we did actually have a break because poor old Anthony, who's still not here because he's still got diarrhea from both ends.
Terrible.
He actually gave us some notes he wanted to talk about, which I completely forgot to mention. Not very helpful notes. For example, the first one is exploration heavy. Not a fan.
What? He loved that and all, like Kirby Superstar and stuff. He was all about, I was in my exploratory phase and I was loving it.
Just exploration heavy. Not a fan. That's all he wrote. That was it.
Doesn't like it. Okay.
Gameplay opening of stepping off a small train reminded him of Half-Life 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of it in there that reminded me of Half-Life.
Very similar to Deus Ex, he thought, which he said, which was released first, ? And I'm telling you, Anthony, it was released after it.
Oh, that's interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wait. Deus Ex was released after System Shock 2?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
When approaching the different training areas, the voices of the people explain what you'll be doing changes. He loved that attention to detail.
I thought one of them, actually, I forgot to mention this, I thought one of them sounded like Kevin Bacon.
Did actually, I know what you're talking about.
Really sounded like Kevin Bacon.
Maybe they got him in. Maybe that was it.
Might have done.
Deus Ex was a year after in 2000, by the way, and gets compared a lot because it's very interesting because Warren Spector, who made System Shock 1, then made Deus Ex the year after System Shock 2.
Oh, I didn't know he made the first one.
Yeah.
I thought that was just like a random small dev.
When he was at, what's the name of the studio? I've got it here. Origin System. No. He worked for Origin Systems, the game, yeah. And then I get confused with Looking Glass and Irrational and all those.
Yeah, Warren Spector was at Looking Glass.
And now he's at Junction Point doing Epic Mickey.
Warren.
Don't be funny about that.
Don't be so mean.
I was trying to think if there's any other trivia of the game that I had, which I'm now shuffling through. The only thing I did want to talk about, we didn't cover actually. We all thought the game was either bad to good, but the reviews were phenomenal. Metacritic had it after 20 critics have 92%. It won 12 Game of the Years from various big people. At the time, Computer and Video Games gave it 9.5. Edge gave it 8, which is interesting, I thought. GamePro gave it 5 out of 5. Game Revolution gave it A. GameSpot 8.5. IGN 9. PC Gamer 95. PC Zone 95. Like, this game was massive.
But
a lot of them graded it higher than Half-Life.
But you have to think, like, none of us played it when it originally came out. And if we had have, because it had so many firsts, then we would have different opinions on it. Like with a lot of the games that we love, that we pick for the show already, they also, you know, may have got amazing scores, but other people hated it because they hadn't played it when they were younger.
I mean, I guess you just have to think whether what are we doing? Are we reviewing games based on how they are to the modern day audience now, or are we viewing them sort of based on the impact that they had at the time? Because, I mean, it's a totally different experience now. So if we take into account all the firsts and the new stuff they did back then, even if it hasn't aged well, then sure, we've got to give it a glowing review. But if not, then...
I still think that even back then, I think they would have acknowledged that it's pretty shoddy. If you compare it to Half-Life or Unreal or anything like that, the combat mechanics are still terrible. So I don't understand how they could have graded it so highly even back then. But I do agree with you, Lisanne, that I think coming back to it now, we can see we're going to think it's shoddy because we didn't play it first time around. Yeah,
like if you picked up Super Mario Kart for the SNES for the very first time today, you'd be like, "What? This game is rubbish."
We do a bit of both. Yeah. We do a bit of both, but I think we mostly lean towards how they've aged now because there's always a bit of a nostalgia. That's one of the things about Retrograde. We like to smash the hammer of nostalgia and go, no, it's actually pretty sucky now. But it's interesting though because the things we are saying, like I got the Edge review when I gave it out of 10, and they do mention the same things that the graphics I thought was a bit rubbish. They thought the combat was pretty bad, but they mentioned it's the new things because I guess everything before that was like Quake and Half-Life was just running a gun, and this game wasn't running a gun. I think that's what made it such a... Which now just seems like a pretty basic thing, but to them at the time was revolutionary. It's like, oh my god, you don't just run in and shoot things. But there were some things, and the last line of the Edge... Well, they say, Charlotte currently, the post Half-Life switch from Twitch gameplay to more involving first-person adventures is how they... Okay. And they end the review, which annoyed me with all due respect to Rebellion, this is a game that Aliens vs Predator should have been. Now, I think that's pretty fair, because Aliens vs Predator, I think, I've played that recently, that's aged really well.
Yeah, the original Alien vs Predator is wicked. I really like that game.
So I was a little bit like, ooh, it's cheeky. Shouldn't say that, Edge.
I haven't played that game. Have you played it, James?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan myself.
Right, okay.
Another little bit of trivia. A port was planned for the Dreamcast, but was cancelled.
Why not?
Because the Dreamcast was cancelled.
Pretty much. Oh dear. That's a whole no. And still a huge fan base. They've made HD mod packs and everything.
Yeah, I actually looked on like a System Shock 2 fan site. I think it was like shock2.com or shock2.com, and they've had news updates like really recently, like October last year.
What kind of news?
Like
the zombies are still coming.
There is still no news.
They had a new patch that someone made, an unofficial patch that was in like October last year, which I was amazed at. I can't believe they're still updating it, and they're getting loads of. I think the developers are still quite into it. Like they're releasing things like they released the soundtrack,
the composer,
things like that. Yeah,
2 months ago released soundtrack. Said here's the original files and stuff.
Do you know who the composer was?
I don't have that.
I do. Eric Brocius, I think.
Has he done anything else?
He did. Let me think. I can't think off the top of my head what he's moved on to now. It's him and a couple others.
This will make you laugh, Mark. How many people do you think worked on this game full time? Bear in mind that part time there were 10 to 15 developers. How many do you think full time?
Full time developers. Oh, what do you mean?
Well, how big do you reckon the team was?
Oh, okay. For a game of his size
in '99.
I don't know, 30 to 40, I guess.
15.
15?
Yeah, sort of worked on it for a duration of 18 months, project length.
No, it shows.
Yeah, it does show.
Isn't it hickledy?
I think I mentioned this in the show, but saying about graphically, even at the time, people must have thought this graphics sucked.
Yeah,
and they did.
so.
Because things like Banjo-Kazooie, which looks amazing, that came out. And Quake 3 Arena, like that was just brilliant.
Yeah, I guess they pushed past it for amazing new gameplay.
Did you guys all become Marines like me?
I did.
No, I didn't.
I joined the Navy because my granddad was in the Navy.
You're hoping to see him?
No, he's dead.
Wow.
Oh, dark. Oh, God. Let's go into the retrograde part of the show. James, you chose it. How are we grading this?
If it was a famous scientist, who would it be and why?
Oh, God.
Okay, I've got one. Marie Curie, because she was groundbreaking, but she died a very long, slow, painful death.
Oh, that's cool.
Much like this game.
That works.
Done.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to give it Richard Dawkins, because he has some pretty good ideas, but he's not very approachable, and you don't want to spend that much time with him, because he's a bit of a, well, I can't say it on air, but yeah.
What does it rhyme with?
Mother lover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what? Oh, no, yeah, that does rhyme, but not with... Okay, never mind.
Right,
Move
that makes
on.
sense.
I can see Jack trying to think of scientists right now.
I'm going to go for Doc Brown, Dr. Emmett Brown.
Oh, yeah.
God, that's
Because he made revolutionary, groundbreaking stuff, which it blew everyone away. Time travel in a DeLorean. He took something that was really old and basic and did amazing things with it, which is what they did with the Thief engine.
Wasn't the DeLorean pretty contemporary at the time?
At the time,
DeLorean was very
It doesn't-
contemporary.
it
It was
doesn't
like
work.
the
It doesn't
car
work
on the
in
planet.
Yeah.
by today's standards.
if you're going to make a time machine, why not do it with a bit of style?
But he was a victim of
Good
his
quote,
own.
Mark.
He was a victim of his own victim of his own success, because he got shot by the terrorists for sending them pinball parts to make a bomb, and he died. But he lived, carried on, made a few more, and then he comes back at the end with something even better. Just like they came back with BioShock, he came back with the giant train that flew. Was his time machine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mark?
I'm going to go for Oppenheimer. He made something that literally blew everyone away, but it blew...
What was it?
didn't-
Hold on, what was it?
Oh,
I don't know what he made.
He's the father of a nuclear bomb.
Oh,
See,
right, okay.
Getting all philosophical. Yeah, he made something, blew everyone away, but it wasn't very popular with the masses. And you would say that it hasn't even really aged very well either. When you look back at it, you think maybe he's probably made some mistakes there.
Well, by making it in the first place.
Yeah, by making it in the first place. Well, that's probably not right.
There is a really good interview with him where he's basically he's almost on the edge of tears. Just
Yeah, he
going,
really regrets it, didn't he?
Yeah, he really does. Sorry,
probably
finish.
doesn't now.
Was that the end of your beautiful imagery?
That was, yeah.
Not very popular with the masses.
No, that was good. That was good, Mark. That was a nice
Still
touch.
well loved. Got the job done. Once System Shock
Did
2.
get the job done.
He did get the job done, didn't he? Ended a couple of world wars.
Not big in the Japanese market.
Yeah, thank you for listening to this two-parter of a show, even though you've been listening to it in one part, but it still counts. You can find us on Twitter at Retrograde Show. You can email us whenever at retrograde@psycon.org. That's retrograde@csicon.org. And you can also follow us and like us on Facebook. Just search for Retrograde. And if you enjoy the show, please take time to write a review on iTunes. Every reviewer for us gets a limited edition exclusive Retrograde badge. Lastly, you can sponsor the episode of Retrograde for a stupidly low price. Just head over to psycon.org/sponsor. We'll be back in 2 weeks with my
He's
favourite
actually
game.
dancing.
It's
He's
so
actually
good.
dancing.
We're back with the PC classic, The Secret of Monkey Island.
Boo.
Why boo? Well, I'll talk about it in the next episode, but I've chosen it because it's one of the greatest adventure games ever made. And it's if I was to make a top 10 list of the most loved games amongst games and developers, it'd be in the top 10 easily. Have any of you played it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played it on my iPhone. It was awful.
Well, let's say
Podcast over.
You don't need to do it now, do you?
I bought it on Steam because it was cheap, so I own the full version on my computer, so I will be playing it.
Yeah, but anyway, Super Monkey, Secret of Monkey Island, the first one. So make sure you play that before next week's show. And that's a goodbye from me, Jack Marshall. A goodbye from Mark Toole.
Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
That's
as well.
right, no
Sorry.
problem.
A goodbye from Zan Fisher.
Bye.
And a goodbye from James McFadden.
Follow us.